Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS Psychologist and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. In this episode, we are going to do an MBTI episode and we are specifically going to talk about the ISTJ. Our first question is, how can you identify an ISTJ? One of the characteristics of the ISTJ is that they are usually high performers. They may have done very well academically usually. They are usually well educated and many of them are managers, engineers or doctors. They tend to gravitate towards rather traditional type of professions. In a class, be it a workshop or an honors class, you can always identify this ISTJ very easily. The ISTJ is one who will tend to ask a lot of questions. Why? Because the ISTJ has SI as their dominant function, and SI as the dominant function leads them to want to collect a lot of information. So for example, you can say that nowadays children need to be resilient. They will ask you, who said so? Once you tell them who said so, they will ask you, where is the research? It goes on and on and on and on.
But Duracell batteries keep going. In fact, depending on the toy.
Well, because SI drives the ISTJ to collect a lot of information so that they can make a decision. So it is very common to see ISTJs asking a lot of questions so that they can make an informed decision. Because the ISTJ has FE as their blind spot, so they are not very attuned to the feeling of other people. So in a class, they may actually hold the entire section by asking questions again and again. People around them might become irritated, but the ISTJ will not know this. Sometimes when they keep asking a question, asking more questions, the person that is answering their question might also feel challenged. Are you doubting my professionalism? But the ISTJ does not think this way. They are just asking questions because they need to know more. But because of this FE blind spot, they might actually offend people unknowingly. Personally, I feel two ways about this. First of all, I think this is a good trait because if they keep asking and asking and asking, the fake guru might just give way. There are a lot of people who hold workshops nowadays giving you a lot of tips how to become rich and such. If they meet an ISTJ, they will become rather irritated and frustrated because they really don't have substance. So the ISTJ bursts these people straight away. Or not straight away, but ultimately. However, given that you are an expert, it can still be slightly intimidating because it appears as if they are challenging you, challenging your knowledge, and the feeling is somewhat unpleasant. However, actually they are just collecting information and they have FE as their blind spot, so they might come across as very pushy, but they do not mean any harm. At a personal level, the ISTJ may be very stubborn or they tend to follow rules by the book. The ISTJ really trusts physical evidence. So in a way, some ISTJs may seem to be very unyielding, very unbendable. So sometimes you may get an ISTJ trying to correct you because they know that they are correct, or they think that they are correct. So you may have an ISTJ friend or an ISTJ colleague coming over telling you that you are doing things wrongly and they teach you how to do it their way. Although most of the time their way is not the only way or the only approach at approaching the problem, they feel that their way is the only way. In my personal experience, there may be a lot of different ways in which you can approach a problem. The ISTJ is suggesting the way to them which is the most efficient. However, their way that they suggest to you may not be the one that is most suitable to you. Because the ISTJ also values efficiency, so when they try to correct you, they are actually trying to help you out. Nonetheless, sometimes the way they put across their message appears to be very belittling. I personally feel that sometimes the ISTJ does not mean to make you feel small, they just want to educate you. Nonetheless, sometimes it just comes across as that because they have FE blind spot. So how is the ISTJ like as a lover or a partner? So because the ISTJ really loves collecting information and collecting evidence, they might be over-reliant on physical evidence. So they might really like to hear you say, I love you, I want to be with you. Nonetheless, we know that for some MBTI types, when they tell you, I like you, I love you, it is only at that moment when they tell you that it's real. It does not guarantee forever. Also, when a person doesn't tell you that they like you or they want you, it doesn't mean that they are not wanting you or not liking you. So in that regard, I think that one of the things that the ISTJ may need to learn is not to be over-reliant on confirming evidence. Talking about confirming evidence, the ISTJ may also be very capable of stalking you. So they may collect a lot of information about you if they are interested in you by looking at your social media. If you are already together and they are suspicious that you are actually cheating on them, they might start to gather evidence such as looking through your phones, trying to find traces that you are cheating on them. They actually try to do it very unobtrusively, but it is still very invasive. Well, many other MBTI types will also do the same if they suspect that you are cheating on them. However, most of the MBTI types will behave quite differently from the ISTJ. The ISTJ just collects evidence after evidence and they keep to themselves, so they suffer in silence. So the other MBTI types like the INFP immediately see a foreign text, they will question you on the spot. But the ISTJ, they collect evidence, they keep quiet, they just collect more and more and more. But they all keep to themselves. So this could be a potential problem with many other types. So let's now talk about the compatibility between the ISTJ and the ENTJ. So just now I mentioned about this problem of the ISTJ keeping a lot of things to themselves because they have this habit of collecting evidence, storing them, right, until the final showdown. It could be things like cheating, it could be some other things like they're unhappy with you because they feel that you have taken them for granted. So they collect evidence like, okay, on this day you did this, on that day you did that. They collect and one day they suddenly just unleash when they are extremely frustrated or irritated with you. They just tell you, what, you have been doing this all along, this. They throw all the evidence that they have collected on you. Now this is not the way an ENTJ likes to manage a relationship. The ENTJ believes that if there is a problem, please flash your cards immediately so that we can talk about it. We want communication.
When I speak, 'cause you don't listen when I talk.
However, the ISTJ does not have the habit of communication immediately because they just want to gather enough information to be sure. When they finally go on the showdown mode, it is already too late. The relationship might already be beyond repair. This is one of the major problems between the ISTJ and the ENTJ. The problem of communication is quite serious because the ISTJ, when they are close, they are not open to communication at all. They just don't want to talk. ENTJs, on the other hand, are very pro-communication. They just want to discuss with you how we can overcome this problem because the ENTJ is an active problem solver. But as an ENTJ, I need you to tell me what the problem is because you can't expect me to know all the problems between us. Now there is another problem between the ISTJ and the ENTJ. I call this problem the economies of scale problem. So what do I mean by this economies of scale problem? So an ENTJ functions quite differently. Their room is usually messy. So you might find that the ISTJ might try to clean up after the ENTJ. So they might try to arrange the table for them, do different chores. This is the way the ISTJ express love. However, from the ENTJ's point of view, we believe in the economies of scale. So what this means is that if you are better at cleaning up, then you do all the cleaning up. Because I am the person who is lousier at this. You don't make me do this. It's not effective. It's not efficient. We must try to reap the best of our two people working together in a relationship. So in the end, the ISTJ may end up doing a lot of physical stuff because they may be better at all these different things than the ENTJ. However, in return, the ENTJ is not giving as much. The ENTJ may be giving a lot of input. So in a way, the relationship might tend to become a little bit unbalanced from the ISTJ's point of view.
I got one more problem with you, girl. Hey!
When the ENTJ feels that the relationship is becoming unbalanced, then they might compensate by giving the ISTJ different things like presents. Still, the ISTJ is very likely to feel that the ENTJ is taking him or her for granted. And you are unlikely to buy this economies of scales argument also. Nonetheless, this is really what an ENTJ thinks. Let me explain this idea of economies of scale more. From the ENTJ's point of view, if we become a couple, so your time is my time and my time is your time. Let's make use of our talents and our resources more efficiently. If I am the better person to go out to pack food so that we can now share, because you are busy, I can go. In fact, even though the ENTJ may not be very good at packing up or clearing the table, if we have a partner who is worse than us at doing that, we can actually rise to the occasion and clean up the table for this partner. Why? Because we are using the economies of scale. Now, so given that the ISTJ may actually prefer more concrete concepts in relationships, this is not something easy for them to understand and chew. Besides, sometimes ISTJs may appear to be quite calculative, although they are not outwardly calculative. Sometimes I imagine that the ISTJ may have a mental spreadsheet tabulating all the contributions that you have made and they have made and trying to make a balance to see whether it is fair.
I know I have so much to give.
Well, one last problem that I foresee between the ISTJ and the ENTJ is that the ISTJ is really over-reliant on physical explanations and physical evidence. From the ENTJ's point of view, not everything can be explained. Not everything has a reason. Of course, as I have mentioned a lot of times, every MBTI combination has the potential to blossom. It's just that some combinations may have more problems than others. One thing I really like about the ISTJ is that they are very reliable, they are very trustworthy. So if I have an ISTJ partner, I can really trust this person to deliver. But enough said, there are also a lot of potential problems between the ISTJ and the ENTJ. So we'll be doing a lot more MBTI compatibility episodes. Do watch out for them to learn more about the other MBTI types. If you have enjoyed this video, do comment and like. And if you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can continue to add value to you. Okay, I am going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye!